Hi, I'm Darwin Green, President and CEO of High Gold Mining. I'm recording this today from Alaska, from our Johnson Tract project, where we've just kicked off a major drill exploration program. It's the first time this project's seen significant exploration drilling in over 25 years, and today I'm going to show you what it's all about. We're drilling just behind that hill that you can see behind me. I'm recording this from our airstrip. This is how we get in and out of the project. And yeah, basically I'm gonna walk you through the opportunity that we think High Gold offers and why we think this project is a very special one, and give you a real hands-on feel for what exploration in Alaska is all about. So I hope you enjoy. So High Gold Mining, we're focused on high-grade gold in North America. We've got 3 properties in the Greater Timmins Camp in Ontario, and our flagship asset is the Johnson Tract, located in south central Alaska. It's the checklist I look at when investing in a company, and I think we check all the boxes. As far as capital structure goes, we've got a very tight share structure with just 41 million shares outstanding, an excellent shareholder registry. We've got cash in the bank. We've just announced a bought deal financing. When that closes, we'll have north of 23 million in the bank. We have a very experienced and driven management team. And we've got an asset that we believe has the opportunity or potential to be a tier 1 type exploration asset or mining asset. And fundamentally, we think there's a lot of value and upside to the story. Looking at the share structure here, as I say, 41 million shares outstanding. That'll be bumped up after we close this next financing. It'll still be below 50 million shares out. Got a market cap of about 75 million as of July 10th, and little over 11 million cash in the bank. We just announced a bought deal on July 6th. That's bringing in 12 million. It was a no warrant financing priced at $1.73. Expect to close here shortly. On the right, you see the list of key shareholders. Some great names in here: blue chip institutions, a senior gold producer, other top quality names in the business. So in terms of who we are, we've got a great technical team, both the people you see on this slide, but even, tearing down, we've got a fairly deep bench technically. And that's what we pride ourselves in. We focus on jurisdictions that we know and mineral deposit types that we've got expertise in. At the board level, I've got a great board. Includes former mining analyst Michael Gray, or active mining analyst really. Mike Cinnamon, CFO for B2 Gold. Lance Miller, he's our Alaskan connection, PhD geologist, and really understands Alaska well. And Anne LaBelle rounds things out in terms of our independent board members, as she brings a lot of sustainability and mine permitting experience to bear. Johnson Tract is located in south central Alaska. It's a very accessible part of Alaska. Alaska always ranks very high in terms of mineral potential. It's in terms of the Fraser Institute, it's usually at the very top of the list or very near it. However, it doesn't rank very high in infrastructure. So the location of your access is key. The key here is we're very near tidewater, and that's a benefit for both supporting the project now in the exploration stage, but ultimately, if we're successful and define a project for development, this is a polymetallic project where you'll be shipping concentrates to Pacific Rim markets. We're close enough to have communities to support the project. We currently, truck our equipment to Homer and then barge it across, as shown here. This is actually a shot of our 2 drill rigs and supporting supplies being mobilized to site in late June. Just a photo from the project itself. We have an airstrip, we have a camp, we've got good infrastructure to support what we're doing. The project, it is internal to a park. However, it does come with road and port easement rights that support the development of the project. We're on private land. Quite an interesting story. The land that this project, we basically signed a lease with a Alaskan Native Corporation in Alaska. They settled native land claims in the 70s through the ANCSA Act, and that created 12 regional native corporations. And those native corporations acquired lands from which they can generate revenue, some for oil and gas, some for timber, some for mineral potential. In our case, these lands were selected for their mineral potential, and our partner in this case is Cook Inlet Region Inc., or CIRI for short. Fantastic partners. We're really happy to be working with them in the process of advancing this project. So the first thing you notice about Johnson is the phenomenal intersections. It is one of these projects that's produced just, well, outstanding intersections. I've shown some here, some historic, some from our last year's drilling. And with that, um, you know, we were able to generate a resource, and a resource has been defined here. That's 750,000 ounces gold equivalent at about 10.9 grams per ton gold equivalent in the indicated category, and an additional 134,000 ounces gold equivalent at 7.2 grams per ton gold equivalent in the inferred category. So a very high grade deposit. It's been dormant for about 25 years, and it's just now seeing its first modern exploration. It's got phenomenal exploration upside, in our opinion, with all kinds of quality drill targets, and that's what we're focused on doing right now. We've just launched in a drill program, and we'll be hitting it hard this season. It's a bit of an oddball deposit in terms of exactly what it is geologically. It's been variably described as different types of deposits in the past. The closest analog we can compare it to is what's called Hod Maden. It's actually located in Turkey. It has sort of a hybrid between a VMS and an epithermal. So it's similar in that it's got high grade gold with decent base metals. It also has very similar geometry and shape to our deposits. The two are very similar that way. So, it's about 3 times or more larger than Johnson, but it is the target or the prize that we're looking for. And what that prize is basically a deposit that has outstanding economics. A better than $1 billion net present value, that's post-tax, 5% discount number, with a better than 50% internal rate of return. And you just don't see many projects like that. They're high margin, underground mine type projects, and that really is the focus of what we're trying to achieve here. So since acquiring the asset, we got this, I guess we signed the lease in June of 2019. We got a small drill program completed in September of 2019. That put us in a position to generate a resource here. And this is the key takeaways are grade. We're in the top 10% of undeveloped North American gold deposits. We're able to get a large amount of that resource into the indicated category, meaning we have a high degree of confidence in it. There's phenomenal continuity of this thick, high-grade mineralization. And really where this stands out is the true thickness or true width. This is a very, very fat deposit, but it comes with high grade. Steep geometry, high grade core, all good things that you like from a mineability and low cost for mining. So now just looking at the resource itself, this is the resource statement. This came out in late April of this year. 2.1 million tons at 6 grams gold, just under 6% zinc, and about 0.6% copper with additional lead and silver credits. That all counts up to 10.9 grams per ton gold equivalent. Really, really nice grade. This is the kind of deposit that could be a standalone gold deposit or standalone base metal deposit. We've got the kind of grades together. Obviously we do need to do some more work to drive this towards feasibility and that sort of thing. But our focus right now is making this larger. Metallurgy is good. There's not a strong toxic element signature, arsenic, mercury, those sorts of things are low. Really, really quite attractive metallurgy. So, the one thing we try to highlight, or the real key takeaway here, is that this deposit has that rather unique, very rare combination of high grade and an excellent thickness. So you've kind of got the grade you typically see or associate with a narrow vein type system. But in our case, we actually have the width that you normally associate with a bulk tonnage type deposit. Add to that steep geometry. You can access it from the bottom up for gravity assist mining. It really makes for an attractive type of deposit. So we've got what you're looking for. Now it's a matter of finding more. The history to the project is quite fascinating. For the tenor of mineralization that's been found here, I was absolutely floored. It spent 25 years without any work whatsoever. So the lands were selected in the 70s by CIRI. They shortly thereafterwards completed a lease with Anaconda, one of the bigger mining houses at the time. They made the discovery in 1982. They continued to grow it. Then they got out of the mining business altogether. Ultimately, after a little bit of time, it passed hands to Westman Resources. At the time, they were a mid-tier producer who had a couple of mines on the west coast of North America, one of which was near Stewart, BC. It's called the Premier Mine. And so they were looking at this to direct ship ore from Johnson by barge to Premier to be processed there. It involved a lot of rehandling. Gold prices were a lot lower. Premier at the time was certainly it was under capacity. Didn't quite make it. Ultimately, they gave Johnson back. Premier shut down entirely. It's now actually just now being I guess relooked at by Ascot and looking to redevelop it. They found more resources there. Long story short, it went 25 years without a speck of work done on it. Missed 2, 3, 4 major sort of exploration cycles for gold before it was brought to us by Siri, and we're really pleased to have the opportunity to take the next crack at this project. So where are we going? You know, this really for us right now is it's an exploration story. It's an exploration story that's anchored by a phenomenal existing resource. Our focus now is drilling and expanding the deposit. We defined 5 major targets to be drilling in 2020, and we've launched on that. The most compelling target probably is the northeast offset, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail. We also have the north trend, which is, you can see when you look at this map, that the alteration, that orange, is a lot larger footprint than the deposit itself, and it has a sort of a north-south trend to it, especially if you restore the offset from the northeast offset and you bring all that geology back down. You see a sort of a 2-kilometer long trend of alteration. Well, all past work was really focused on a narrow band that was parallel to stratigraphy. They were looking for what was called a VMS type model, exploration model. The takeaway from that is there's huge amount of this alteration footprint that has seen 0 drilling, and so we're very excited about getting out and testing some of those. That number 2 is probably the top on the list for us of those other targets. The target number 4 here, that's actually a brand new zone we found in the footwall while drilling last year. So we drilled 8 or 9 holes into the resource, the known mineralized area. Because the data was so old, we needed to drill new holes, and we filled in big gaps, and really it was focused on putting us in a position to generate a resource. But one of those holes we pushed deep. It went deeper into the footwall, and it found a brand new zone. It was about 20 meters of 2.5% copper and about 5% zinc, lower gold, but very significant mineralization all the same. There's only the one hole into it. It's wide open for follow-up, so we'll be expanding on that. Target number 3 here, which is really probably target number 1 or 2, it's a very high priority target as well, is the deposit itself is open to expansion. So we'll be making incremental step outs on the zone itself. And target number 5 is what we refer to as the southwest extension. And what I'll do next is actually run you out to see what these deposits look like on the ground, where the drills are turning, and look at that geology from basically on the ground and see the alteration systems. But before I do that, I'll quickly run you through the northeast. So looking here is a cross section through the deposit, and what you see is great continuity of grade from surface to depth, tracking all the way down. We've taken it down about 275 meters, and a depth that's cut off by a fault. So the deposit should keep going, except there's a post-mineral fault that's displaced it and cut it off and moved I guess the down dip projection somewhere. Well, the past workers actually worked out where it went. They looked at the fabric in that rock, and then they did some additional drilling to track it out. Good for us, but unfortunate for them. They basically did all the heavy lifting to find out where it went and then stopped. And now we're picking up where they left off. So what we like to see, excuse me, is you can see from this slide that the grade increases with depth. We have some of our very best intersections, 70 meters, 70 plus meters of 20 grams gold, 107 meters of 12.5 grams gold are some of our deepest intersections up against that fault. So we believe there's really good opportunity or potential to find similar grade on the offset side of that fault as shown here. So in this slide, this is a block model to kind of break things down to their simple elements. On the left, the JT deposit, that's what we've discovered and defined. tracking it down, and the down dip projections cut off by a fault, this dacite fault, slid it to the northeast. What we don't know is how far it goes on the northeast. We've got a very good read on that's where it is, because the alteration and mineralogy and the mineralization are very, very similar to what's been found there to the main deposit, and it's a very distinct type of alteration and mineralization. So there's about 4 holes that got into this space. You know, they hit up to 11 grams over 3 meters and 1.5 grams over 10 or 15 meters. Not quite like the stuff we saw at the main deposit, or at least the heart of the main deposit, but very like what we see on the edges of the main deposit. And because the drilling was so wide, our job right now is to try and vector our way into the heart of it, get into the core, and then keep chasing that core at depth.
So here we are, we're on the site. Behind me is one of our 2 drills turning. We're testing 5 targets this season. This drill is on what's called the northeast offset, so it's a faulted offset continuation of the deposit at depth. They'll be drilling 400 or 500 meters or more in length, these holes. Super excited to be testing this target. If you look down here, you can actually see where the deposit comes to surface. The JT deposit, that's where we have about 900,000 ounces gold equivalent that's been defined to date in all categories. And there's a second drill on that target. You can see just up the slope from to the left. And it's focused on both expanding that zone as well as targeting a new zone we found last year called the footwall zone. If we pan a little further to the right, you can see as you head north from that deposit, there's a really obvious alteration zone you can see at surface. That's the expression of hydrothermal system that's exposed, that's altered those rocks, and we feel there's a really good potential for finding additional mineralization at depth. There's never been any drilling along that trend historically, so we're super excited about that as well. And lastly, the 5th target we'll be drilling is what's called the southern extension or southwest extension, and it's a little bit just out of view off the back end of the deposit there. While we're here, I mean, this is such a good spot to kind of point things out. Let's pan around as we go past through here. You can actually see the ocean. That's the Pacific Ocean in the distance, Cook Inlet. It's really attractive to be so close to the coast with a project like this. And if we keep panning around this way, we'll go across. You won't actually see Difficult Creek. It's on the other side of this hill, but you see the very edge of the alteration system that's related to Difficult Creek up on that ridge line. And as we keep panning around, you'll see the kind of the edge of what's called the Kona system. So Johnson is part of a trend of mineralization where we've been able to follow these alteration and mineralized zones over about 10 to 12 kilometers in length. So we're standing on one of the pads tied to drilling off the deposit, which is just off to my right here. And all the drilling is basically been oriented to follow something that's oriented this way. An ore deposit that's trending in this direction, way up on the hills at northeast offset. But what you see here really well, so I'm filming it from this spot, is the alteration trend that's oblique to that. It's a more northerly trend, and that's what you see heading up in this direction. You can see that light color through the gully up there. That's all the clay alteration and hydrite alteration. It's the type of alteration you see associated with the main deposit, but it's kind of a halo that's outside of the core of the deposit. So we think we just need to get deeper there, and that's going to be one of our drill targets. Here's the drill bringing in supplies. It's bringing in timber to build our next drill pad. We've got a crew of carpenters that are building a pad or a platform in the drill site. This is how we bring everything up. We bring the supplies up to build the pad, we bring the drill up the parts, all slung underneath the helicopter. Plus, we've got a phenomenal team of top to bottom, our technical people and our mountain people. Like these guys, they're great carpenters, they're great in the mountains, they know how to build super stable, super safe pads. Real integral part of our operation. Here we are at the drill rig. We got Doug the driller right here.
Hey, Doug.
Down. So when you're drilling, you got a diamond core bit. It's a bit, it's got a hole in the middle. On the outer side, it's embedded with diamonds and it cuts the rock. What happens is the rock goes up in a tube inside this tube, and we pull it up at 3-meter lengths at a time. And we fill these boxes, and we fly them down to camp, where the geologists launch a drill core.
Want to see a bit?
Yeah, why don't you pull us out a bit?
Okay, boss. Anything to get into my 5 seconds thing.
Oh yeah, right there.
I'm on that too.
That's what I gotta do nowadays. Is just look.
Oh, there's the drill bit. That's easier to understand.
There you go. There's your drill bit. Tiny little diamonds embedded in this matrix. So the hole diameter that we drill is that big, and the core diameter is that big. And then the core comes from the drill down to the core shack, where our geologists do the core logging. Jeff, say hi.
So above and beyond the immediate drill targets, I guess in the near deposit environment, and by near deposit environment, I mean targets within an 800-meter radius of the deposit itself, which is kind of shown by that area at the red box on this slide. One of the other really compelling parts about this project is the extent and length of the overall hydrothermal system. So you can track prospects and visible zones of hydrothermal alteration over a distance of about 10 or 12 kilometers across the length of the property. Um, they're quite visible. You can fly from one ridge or valley over to the next valley, and you see these big alteration systems. So we think there's quite high probability or good prospect of finding new zones of mineralization on the property. This year, our drilling focus is within that red box area, but we will have teams of people out mapping the geology, prospecting, doing soil and rock geochemical survey programs and geophysical programs with the objective of getting them to the drill ready stage. And I'll just talk to one of those right now, Difficult Creek. It's about 4, maybe 5 kilometers northeast of the main deposit. Very similar metal assemblage has been identified there, very similar alteration assemblage. This is very unique and rare sort of anhydrite alteration we see associated with the main Johnson Tract deposit. We see that here as well. And high grade gold. And so there was a handful of holes drilled here in 1983, 1984, and it's seen no work since. We spent a few days on the property in September of last year just getting ourselves oriented. Found a brand new vein. That's what's on the right side of the slide here. It was over a 10-meter wide zone with several narrower veins within there, up to 1.5 meters to 2 meters wide, individual veins. And really it just tells and speaks to, I guess, the untapped potential of the project. So we're quite excited to be getting out and testing some of these other prospect areas. Moving on from Johnson, before we will have a little video at the end of this. It's drone footage that flies throughout the extent of the property, and you can see what Difficult Creek and Kona and some of these other prospects look like, as well as our camp area. But for now, I'll just jump a little bit to Timmins. A reminder that we have 3 properties there, 2 very large land positions in terms of Golden Mile and Golden Perimeter. They're both north and south of Timmins proper. And then to the east, just a little bit east of Matheson, is the Munro Croesus project. It's really the star. It was a former past producer, and I'll just go to the next slide here. Produced samples like this. It was quite a famous little mine. It didn't produce a lot, but what it produced was exceptionally high grade, museum specimen quality gold. We've got 5 in a collection of our own that's anywhere from 10,000 to 17,000 ounces per ton. In decent sized samples. It really is a pretty unique and rare kind of environment where you get this kind of gold enrichment. We really like it in terms of the other veins around, and the fact that it's never sort of seen any modern and systematic approach to exploration, in large part because the land is fragmented. We've been consolidating the land around Croesus itself, and this will keep us very busy through the fall and into the winter. We have some surface crews out there right now teeing things up to drill when we get back there in the fall and winter. So, summarizing things up, where do we sit in comparison to our peers? I put together here a list of what I think is the peer group for us. These are all good quality stories. They're stories, drill bit exploration stories of high-grade gold in stable first world jurisdictions. And that's what we have. For all of these, then the check marks here, an X doesn't mean you've got a problem. I'm just saying a check. Having a check mark is better. Do you have a senior producer? Have you been endorsed by a senior gold producer or not? Do you have a major mining titan as a shareholder? One of those big figures. How are your drill sections? How do they stack up? We think ours are probably the best of the bunch here. Certainly every bit as good as anybody else's that you see on this list. We've got a tight share structure. We got cash to execute. And you look here, the median market cap of this group is about 160 million. So lots upside for us. Simple story is we're not overvalued. Lastly here, I do think it's important to remind everyone, as an exploration team, I'm always focused on the geology and talking the geology and really the opportunity that we offer. But it's really important to highlight something that we take very seriously as a group, and that is the stewardship of the land and the environment where we operate. It starts with respect for the people and the environment. We hope to leave a lasting positive legacy wherever we operate. And catalyst going forward, it's been a very, very good year for us. For considering we only just launched in September 2019, we've raised north of 25 million through 3 financings. Got some great drill intersections into the market. Got a maiden resource out. But really, we're just getting going. This is all about seeing what the upside is for Johnson. We have what we think is the ideal type of deposit. Now we need to find more. We've got the money to go do that. We're fully funded. We started with a 2 drill rig, 7 to 10,000 meter drill program. That's underway right now, and that will be expanded as we close the financing here. And just want to get as much done as we can while the sun's shining here in Alaska. Thank you very much.